It is April of the year 1495 in the city of Florence, Italy, and a man stands on a wooden stage before a large crowd. In the middle of the crowd sits a large pile of books. After the man, a Dominican friar finishes his speech, chastising the church and proclaiming glory for the city of Florence. A member of the crowd lights the pile of books on fire, and the crowd watches as the books burn. Girolamo Savonarola was born on September 21st of 1452 in the Italian city of Ferrara. His grandfather was a gifted and talented surgeon, and Savonarola attempted to become one following his grandfather's death, but never went to medical school. He began to write poetry at age 20, but as opposed to the more typical love poems of the time, Savonarola wrote apocalyptic poetry, writing on the ruin of the world in 1472. Around the same time, Savonarola began to find interest in religion, traveling to Bologna to join the Dominican order in 1475. After a year, Savonarola was ordained as a priest, and in 1478 he was sent home to Ferrara as an assistant master of novices. 3 years later, Savonarola was assigned to become a lector, or teacher, at the convent of San Marco in Florence. Savonarola taught logic in Florence, but also wrote on philosophy and ethics. While working and studying scripture one day, Savonarola was inundated with 7 reasons why the church was about to collapse and renew itself, but he kept this to himself. He left Florence in 1487. Savonarola traveled through northern Italy for 2 years, preaching where he went, his ego growing with his reputation. Savonarola was reassigned to Florence in 1490. Savonarola was brought back by the man who controlled Florence, Lorenzo de' Medici, at the behest of one of his nobles. The Medicis were extremely powerful banking family that de facto ruled over Florence at the time. Savonarola preached on the first epistle of John and on the book of Revelation, drawing large enough crowds that he moved his sermons to the cathedral. Savonarola chastised the rich and powerful and made allusions to tyrants, but did not mention names. He stated that the rich usurped the people's freedoms and neglected and exploited them. He deprecated the clergy, calling them corrupt and demanding that they seek repentance before the day of judgment. Many dismissed Savonarola as a zealot, but his growing group of followers became known as the Piagnoni, or Weepers. In 1492, Savonarola stated the sword of the Lord would come quickly and soon. And around 1493, he called for a new Cyrus to come over the mountains and renew the church. In September of 1494, King Charles VIII of France crossed the Alps with a large army, and many in Florence saw this as proof of Savonarola's prophecy. Charles marched on Florence, sacking large swaths of Tuscany and threatening to sack the city as well, while the city's population took to the streets to attempt to overthrow Lorenzo de' Medici's much less fortunate son, Piero. Savonarola led a delegation to Charles's camp. Savonarola convinced Charles to spare Florence and tried to get Charles to join Savonarola in his mission to reform the church. After a short but tense occupation of Florence, Charles moved south in late November, leaving Savonarola to his own devices. On December 10th, Savonarola gave a sermon that goes, "I announce this good news to the city, that Florence will be more glorious, richer, more powerful than she has ever been. First, glorious in the sight of God as well as of men. And you, O Florence, will be the reformation of all of Italy. And from here, the renewal will begin and spread everywhere, because this is the navel of Italy." Savonarola took political power in Florence with his party, the Fratelli. Those formerly loyal to the Medicis were barred from political power. He gave a sermon before a massive crowd on January 13th of 1495, where he exalted his predictions, calling Florence God's chosen, and continuing to state the city would have riches and glory. In February, during the time of Carnival, Savonarola began to host the Bonfire of the Vanities, where all objects deemed heretical were burned in massive fires while Savonarola preached. Countless books, sculptures, paintings, and many other items, including mirrors and musical instruments, were burned, while the weepers held any who protested. Pope Alexander was furious with Savonarola and summoned a priest to appear at the Vatican to answer for his crimes. When Savonarola refused to appear, claiming ill health, Alexander banned him from preaching. Savonarola obeyed the demand for months. On May 12 of 1497, Pope Alexander VI excommunicated Savonarola for heresy and threatened Florence with similar actions should they continue to harbor him. On March 18 of 1498, Savonarola withdrew from the public and wrote his magnum opus, called The Triumph of the Cross, where he explored the meaning of Christianity. Savonarola suggested that he perform miracles to prove his connection to the divine. One Franciscan priest suggested Savonarola walk through fire, and on the 7th of April 1498, the first trial by fire in Florence in 400 years was set. But a sudden rain doused the fire before Savonarola could walk through it. The crowd turned into a mob that attacked the convent of San Marco. Savonarola, along with two of his key supporters, were arrested. Under torture, Savonarola confessed to making up his prophecies, then recanted, then confessed again. On the morning of May 23, 1498, Girolamo Savonarola, along with his two main supporters, were condemned as heretics, stripped of their Dominican titles, and then hung and burned at the gallows. Their ashes were scattered in the Arno River. Girolamo Savonarola is considered by many to be a proto-Protestant, and his actions, much like the actions of John Wycliffe and Jan Hus, are considered to have influenced later thinkers like Martin Luther or John Calvin. At San Marco, Savonarola and his two followers continued to be venerated as the three martyrs. Savonarola's ideas, however, made it as far as Germany and Switzerland in his lifetime, and his influence only spread more following his death. In Wittenberg, Martin Luther's hometown, there is a statue of Savonarola made to commemorate the reformist priest and possible cult leader who put a thorn in the foot of the Catholic Church. Thanks for watching.